Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the social credit system. There's been quite a few articles around on all the print media, the online media, and so on. So it seems to be topical at the moment. Now, I guess the original model or concept most people have, or those who are across it at all, is that it's something that was created in China and is a system of awarding social credit for alleged good behaviour and taking from that social credit score, if you like, for bad behaviour. Now, some of the behaviour is defecating in the street, for example. Somebody would get a deduction from their social credit score for doing that, or for spitting while in the public transport, or and sort of basic laws, committing murder or assault or robbery or something, these sort of things. Some of them are quite basic, but the biggest sort of points deduction are for not for criminal activity or obvious antisocial activities such as defecating in the street, or urinating, on your neighbour's front door or something. It's not for that. It's for non-compliance. So if you complain about the government or that the government's policy in a certain area is not helping you, or your life is being made worse by the behaviour of the government, and so on. If you do that, then those have particularly high rates of deduction. I don't know if these are the exact numbers, but if you kill someone, it's like, but if you criticise the government, whoa, hey, buddy. So that's not really a social credit system in the sense that it rewards good behaviour and punishes bad behaviour. Now, the penalties for bad behaviour as deemed and defined by the government, and some of the definitions, by the way, are rather vague, so it means they can jump in a number of directions when it suits them. If they decide they don't like you, they can amp up the harsh judgments based on the vagueness of some of the definitions and terms. But some of the penalties are that instead of getting a doctor's appointment on, for example, the same day, you have to wait a fortnight. Or if you if you want to catch a train, for example, you want to visit your mother in another city, then you can't get the best times for the train. You can only get the midnight train, or not at all, or you have to wait a month. And so really it's a series of frustrations and impediments that's put in the way of you leading your daily life. You maybe want to get a loan to, buy a house or a car or something, those sort of things. So it's and given that everything's controlled by the government, your social credit system feeds into anything and everything that you do or attempt to do. You could be buying groceries at the store. Certain foods will be denied you. No, you can't buy that. You have to buy the stale rice instead of the fresh rice, or things like that. So there are some of them quite petty, actually. You can almost imagine some child had devised some of it, but now there is again some good sides, but you don't want people defecating in the streets. So those sort of things should be. You don't want folks going around murdering people and so on. Now, if there's things like the property developer that knowingly uses cheap rubbish materials in the apartment block that then falls down, should those sort of things. If they use cheap materials, but they're bribing people. So really the social credit system applies to people who don't have the resources or the connections to go and bribe their way. And China is an incredibly corrupt society, don't have the capacity to bribe their way into having an easy time of it. So nor is the social credit system to do with civic participation. Like, for example, say you volunteer to I don't know, pick up litter in one of the parks in the cities or the towns. There's how much is your commitment to, example, to running a soup kitchen for people who are homeless, or doing it tough, or things like that. So there's that's a bit on the selective side, because if you go and help out a soup kitchen, it means you're saying the government has stuffed up, and therefore it's antisocial. So it's a complex web to navigate. And China's incredible sort of attitude about losing face and all that sort of stuff. So the social credit system as in China has its pluses, again, the defecating in the street, but it has also many minuses, and it assumes, or does not assume rather, that people start from a point of having rights and having a right to participate, as in participating in the civis, participating in their own government. So the social credit system there reflects that. However, that's pretty much what the globalists want, this idea of democracy, rule of law, due legal process, and citizens participating in government and choosing their own government. The globalist project cannot be implemented if that remains, so it must be removed. Now, the only people in the world that really support that and think civic participation, rule of law, and so on is important are white people. That's why white people have to be got rid of. They're just in the way, and particularly straight white men, responsible straight white men, and they're the white supremists that that Merrick Garland and his stooges are talking about and targeting, because they're in the way of the globalist project, and Merrick Garland and the goons around Joe Biden are there to aggressively implement the globalist project. So how will social credit system work in the West? Well, it seems to be, certainly in the early stages, going along similar lines as it is in China. It punishes somebody for using the wrong transgender pronoun, but if a Black Lives Matter activist burns a building down, they don't get social credits. If a bunch of African Americans go on robbing, looting shops and so on, that doesn't appear to be, they're not the people that really they want to put the social credit system on. The social credit system is to shut up responsible, property owning white people. Now, with a lot of the folks on the street that are doing the looting, you can't find them. I mean, if the resources required to find some of these people, they don't have any fixed address, whereas the upstanding, never committed a crime or never been charged with a crime or accused of a crime, the upstanding white guy in the middle class suburb with the house, you can find him easily and quickly. Easy to intimidate. He's got a lot there, a lot you can take, threaten to take. You can drag him through the courts and bankrupt him. You can do all sorts of things to a guy like that. But you can't really do much to the guy in the street. What's the guy in the street got? What's he got that you can take? What are you going to threaten him with? Prison? That's all you've got. And that's going to cost you money to put him in prison. Whereas he's roaming around the street, beating up and murdering or stealing from white people. Hey, he's performing a service for the globalists in making society dysfunctional, unworkable. So that's a service. That guy would get a social credit increase by doing those things, because he's acting in a de facto and indirect sense. He's acting in service of the globalists by doing that. But that white guy doesn't like globalization, doesn't like the mass migration, doesn't like the politicization of the justice system and so on. He is an enemy of the globalization project and must be brought down and must be crushed. Now, the social credit system will be devised to go after those people, as it is now to a large extent. You go to in the United States, you go and complain at a school board meeting about all the material and educational resources directed towards the hating white people. Then if you complain about that or say it's a bad thing, which it is, by the way, then that's it. You're a terrorist. You're a white supremacist, and you're Hitler. And so you get a social credit system, a social credit markdown because of that, because you are opposing the the methodologies used by the globalists to undermine and crush Western society. If you oppose that, then you oppose the globalists. If you oppose the globalists, then you're a damn Nazi. And it's simple as that. So the social credit system, in my view, will go along the lines of being devised specifically to remove, to crush, and to dispirit all opposition to, or even questioning of, the globalist project. And I think it'll be used purely for that. Now, sure, there may be some other things that are going, but the people who are easiest to get to are ones where you know exactly where they are. You know, they've lived at that address for years. You know they've got the job here, and so you can get to them whenever you want. The guys roaming around on the street, the Antifa mobs, and a lot of the people that are rustled up real quick to do the climate change protests and Black Lives Matter, all that sort of thing. A lot of those are street people or people who have nothing. You just can't get at them. But the good middle class, upstanding white folks, hardworking and law-abiding, they're the ones you can get to, and they're the ones they'll use the social credit system to target and attack. You've been with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.